preparing. Okay, right. So yeah, like, thank you so much everyone for attending. I'm really impressed with the numbers as well. It looks like we've had 52 people around about during the whole thing, so that's incredible. So let me just quickly, we'll do a couple of things. So if anybody wants to just type a question, then you're more than welcome to, and I'll answer it. And then if anybody wants to actually speak with me, then just stay on, and well, you can effectively unmute yourself, but of course we need to do it one at a time. So what we'll do is just use the raise hand button if you actually want to speak with me. So, and let me just quickly catch up on things. I saw there was a question about what was the lion looking browser, but I saw that somebody answered it and it was Brave, so that's cool. Somebody asked whether we can switch to Zoom tomorrow. We can't at the moment because Zoom only allows for 40-minute long calls. So it's a little bit frustrating. It basically means we'd all have to leave, and then we'd have to start it again and join. So we don't really want that. We're trying to see if we can get Zoom or any kind of similar service to sponsor us and effectively allow us to use their platform. I've got a meeting with somebody in a few hours, so hopefully something positive will come of that. But it seems like this has been okay so far. Let's see. Isaiah says, going to read up more on how we upload websites. I think that's a good thing to do because I know my explanation was not as clear as it could be. Again, be patient with me. It's the first time I'm kind of teaching you all on this. So somebody has said, sound is clear and amazing British. That's probably because I am British. So that'll explain that bit. And then Hafiz has said he's joking. I know you're joking. It's all good. Any questions? Right, I'm slowly getting towards the bottom. Josh says, incredibly informative. Definitely going to have to listen again. Yeah, I'm probably going to listen again as well because some things maybe fell out of my own head as I was saying them. Okay, I'd like to know more about the schedule. So you're right, the next one ideally will be on Monday. So ideally we're going to do this every Monday at the same time, but there might be occasions where we switch it up. But what I'm thinking of doing is a lesson every Monday, but then maybe halfway into the week, we do, instead of a lecture, we do kind of just like a session where you can kind of ask me questions and things like that. One thing as well is, ideally, I wanted to talk about Git and GitHub version control. Now, we didn't really get much time to talk about it today, but ideally, well, I'm going to set you some homework. It's optional in the sense of it's optional whether you want to, how far you want to progress. And the homework is sign up for GitHub and figure out how to upload a folder that just contains 3 files, a HTML file, a CSS file, and a JS file. Those files can just be empty. They don't actually need to have code in them. For a lot of you, you might not even know the code yet, which is normal. But I want you just to practice uploading a repository of code or files, I should say, to GitHub. Don't worry about making notes right now. I'm going to write this down and put it either in the Discord chat or on the dashboard. And the homework is only for people who have never used GitHub. What we're going to do is kind of make it so that you have to submit a link to the upload you've done. But if you've already uploaded stuff to GitHub, just put any link in there from your profile and that'll be fine. So like I said, it's more for people who have never used it before. Right. So yeah, hopefully that answered the question about schedule. Ideally, it's going to be every Monday, but then midweek, we might do like a little Q&A session where you can just ask me questions. Isaiah, I'm hoping I'm saying your name right, Isaiah. If I'm not, like, tell me.
Hi, can you hear me?
Oh, hey, I can.
It's Asaiya.
Oh, Asaiya. Oh, amazing.
Yes.
That's so cool. I love the pronunciation of your name. Cool. Let me just see where your question was. What are good resources you recommend for learning about name servers? That's a good question. Honestly, there's so much information out there. What I will do is I'll put some resources in the Stackademic dashboard on that resources page specifically for that, because there are some videos that kind of go into it in so much detail that, you know, it's kind of, if you really want to know loads about it, you can. But then if you just want to dip your toe into it and learn it a bit more, you can do. So I'll try and put resources for both, like the long version and the short version. So will there be homework assignments? Yes. What about Google Meet? Google Meet, again, is a service that you have to pay for if you want to use it with, say, the amount of students that we've got. It's difficult in that regard. How about YouTube? Yes, potentially we might switch to using that from time to time. The reason why we've used this is because, I mean, look, this first lecture was just me talking, right? But every lecture is not going to be like that. There are definitely going to be ones that are way more kind of like back and forth between you lot and me and things like that. So we'll definitely have a look into that. Let me just mute everyone again because I can hear some background noise. Okay, right. I think I'm catching up with them. So let's have a look. What is the cost of stackademic.com domain? That's a good question. So I typically use Google to buy domains. They actually sell domains. The website is basically, I think it's just Google, no, domains.google. It's something like that. And anyway, the reason why I use them is because apart from when they bump up prices, it's typically just 10 pounds, 10 euros, $10 every year. And they automatically protect the domain as well from, basically, certain domain providers, if you buy it from them, they might not actually protect your address information and things like that. So anyone could just find your information online, whereas Google automatically protect that and don't charge extra for it. I think somebody looks like they want to speak with me. By all means, go ahead. Or not. Okay. Right, I think I've almost caught up. Let's have a look. So also, I think we need to learn a bit about HTTP and HTTP verbs, so it's easy to understand how the web works. I agree. Some of this. Ultimately, when I'm teaching about these things as well, I'm not always going to teach you absolutely everything. But the point is, I'll plant the seeds in your head. So, for example, all of a sudden you've heard words such as DNS, name server, NS records, all this stuff. I'm giving you information about it, but if you really want to learn more, then you'll continue to learn more. You'll find out about it online. So I hope that makes sense. How about Python? We're not going to cover Python, at least in this cohort. Maybe further down the line we will, but for now, what we're trying to teach you is everything you need to build websites and web applications. Python, you can use it to build web applications, but in my opinion, it means that we extend the duration of this course by at least 2 more months, at least. Whereas everything that you can do in Python for the web, you can do with JavaScript and Node.js, which is what we're going to cover. The way I look at it is I would rather teach you, or we would rather teach you the bare minimum amount of languages that you need to be able to do everything. Whereas if we throw Python in, then that's another language you've got to learn. Okay, let's have a look. Loving the enthusiasm from Josh as well. He's excited for homework. You're 33 years and haven't had homework to do in 12 years. If it makes you feel any better, Josh, I'm 33 as well, and this past week has felt like homework for me. So, okay. I didn't hear what you said about the assignment. that's okay. I will write it down for everybody. So don't worry about that for the moment. Oh, amazing! Actually, Axe's like cleared it up for me. That's great. Okay, the files don't have to contain everything exactly. What is the backend technology that you would recommend? Good question. In this case, Node.js is what we will be using to create backends. There are lots of tools that are available, though, that massively simplify the backend process. One example that I kind of spoke about, I think I accidentally used the Stackademic account instead of my own on Twitter the other day. I was saying how Firebase kind of does away with lots of this kind of like, lots of these back-end processes. It's not to say that that's the best thing. It's what I prefer to do in terms of like, how can I build something as quick as possible? For example, the Stackademic dashboard. I mean, it's bare bones at the moment. It looks okay, but if I were to build all of those individual things, the back end, it would take me way longer than it did. But instead, we just used Firebase, and it kind of made it a lot faster to do things. Okay, let's have a look. So yeah, a few of you talking about age. That's cool. I love that. We've got people of all different ages. It's incredible. I think we've got students as young as like 14, and then we've got students as old as in the 60s. So it's incredible. Okay, is it possible to build? Let me go back a bit. So do you need to learn SQL or query language for Firebase? You don't need SQL. It uses NoSQL. When I say NoSQL, though, that's actually a query language called NoSQL. And it's like JSON, which is kind of like a JavaScript based thing. So it does have a query. It does have a framework to it to kind of creating those one-to-one or one-to-many or many-to-one relationships that you would do in SQL, but it's faster. So it's useful. It's definitely faster in terms of building things as quick as possible. What technologies we use for Stackademic? React, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Firebase. All things that you will be taught. So, you know, if you wanted to build something like that, as in authentication, student areas, a website, and then a back-end dashboard, you could do all of that with everything we're going to teach you. I would like to know about how to manage a project inside VS Code. When you have a development team and you want to protect some file, some business logic, that, you know what, that's a really good question. Or a really good thing to know. So there are things you can do. Off the top of my head, the thing I can think of is kind of using these kind of environment files, which I think will be really good when we do an optional module on CI and CD, which is short for continuous integration and continuous deployment. We've got someone coming in to do the lesson who's a specialist in that, and they'll be able to tell you a lot more about how you protect certain files, like credentials, for example. What do I think about Deno and Node, which is better? At the moment, I'd say Node is better in terms of just it's been around for longer, it's battle tested more, there's way more in terms of packages and things like that. But when I say better, I don't necessarily mean it's a better thing. It's just, if I was going to use one, let's say, if I was going to build something, I would use Node probably instead of Deno. That might change a year from now. When will the lecture start? It started an hour ago. So, okay. I mean, the lecture's finished as well, by the way, so you're going to have to catch up. So Node is older and more known, exactly. So what Ahmed had said is what I agree with. Thank you, AI, for putting the kind of non-relational database and stuff. Seems I'm the youngest here. Seems so, but that's okay. It means you've got the most time to learn, hopefully. What backend technology would you recommend? recommend if I go into mobile app development. Depends on what you know. If you were doing it immediately after studying with us, I'd probably use React Native because it's going to give you the easiest. Or even Ionic. I built 2 apps a few months ago using Ionic, which is basically just using JavaScript and React again, or at least that's what I was doing. Are you covering design patterns? We definitely will be covering some of that. It's probably going to be in the optional modules at the end of the course, because I would consider them to be not essential, but definitely really useful things. Same with algorithms and data structures. We'll cover them more towards the end. We might bleed some of them into the compulsory modules, but it'll be more so towards the end. Hafiz, can you ask a question? You most certainly can ask a question. Unmute yourself. Go for it.
Hello. Hello, everyone, and hello, sir.
Hey.
Actually, I have a question which always bothers me because I'm new to this field, and when I search for let's say I'm at stackoverflow.com and I'm just looking for jobs, and the course which we are going to do now, what are we going to be in the end of at the end of that course? I mean, because there are so many names: network engineer, website developer, web developer, app developer, and then there are so many names that makes me think and makes me crazy that what am I going to be, or what should I do to be that?
Okay.
This is a question. Yes,
okay, that's a good question as well. Now, we will definitely cover that more later on as well. But you can call yourself whatever you feel like. That sounds like a easy answer, but the reason why is because to some extent it's kind of true. Now, technically, there are differences between a developer, a programmer, and an engineer, or at least between developer, programmer, and engineer. There are differences, but if I think about the jobs I've had, I've been called a developer, I've been called a web developer, I've been called a programmer, I've been called a software engineer, I've been called a senior software engineer. They're all kind of almost one and the same nowadays, at least in terms of how people use those words. I would call yourself based on what you want to market yourself as. I mean, things like network engineers, you're not going to become a network engineer off the back of this course. Really, what you will be is a web developer or a software developer, and you can choose whichever one you want to call yourself. Really, I would say what you call yourself is not that important. What you apply for is important. So you could call yourself a web developer on LinkedIn, but you can still apply for programming jobs. I hope that kind of answers it. It's because it's not a black and white thing. It's not like, okay, I have become a doctor. A doctor and a nurse are different things. So if I'm a doctor, I'm not going to then apply for a nurse job or call myself a nurse. Whereas in technology and programming, all of these terms are just interchangeable. It's often based on just whatever the company feels like calling that position. From your perspective, it's not important. It shouldn't be important. Okay, so are you covering React Native? We're not covering React Native. We're covering React, and you can use that to then build stuff in React Native if you want to go further. But who knows? A few months from now, we may have we might have spoken with a specialist in React Native who wants to teach you all that. So everything's very much new. We've had about 50 or so kind of volunteers, but we've only really reached out to a few of them. The ones who we kind of really feel that can add value, such as Piero, for example, who will be teaching you in a few weeks. Okay, so we will work with algorithms and types. I think that's a question. I mean, you've put a question mark at the end. We will be talking about those things. Let's just say that. Will we have a session on DS and Algo? Yes, but probably more so in the optional part rather than in the compulsory part. Knowing the foundations is good enough. Exactly. I agree. Will we talk about wireframing and prototyping? Yes, we will. And I'm really glad you mentioned that. It's on the list. Like I think I put a list of what, like a while ago, saying what we're going to teach. Wireframing and so on, prototyping is part of it. Dee would like to speak. By all means, Dee, ask away. Or not. Okay, never mind. So we're going to be a web developer, right? Yes. I'm really having a hard time with the audio. Is anyone else struggling? Gosh, I hope not, because I've been talking for a very long time and I'd be really frustrated if the recordings come out bad. If it's been difficult for you, hopefully the recordings that go on YouTube either later today or tomorrow the audio will be fine. Maybe you're having difficulty because there are so many people connected. Okay, can't wait for the blogging and personal branding bits. I agree. I'm actually personally really excited to teach you all about that. One thing I forgot to do is introduce myself at the start of the lesson. So some of you will know who I am, but maybe some of you won't. I'll do that in the next one. But the reason why I'm excited to do that, or teach you about blogging and personal branding, is because I kind of feel like I have something to add. Given that I'm someone who owns publications that do over 2 million views every month. Some of my blog posts have kind of done over 1 million views and have kind of been shared around everywhere and stuff like that. So anyway, yeah, I'm hoping I can kind of teach you a few things. Is it possible to apply for the positions at top tech companies with only web development and algorithms and data structure skills? Yes, it is. I mean, you'll definitely need to know algorithms and data structures really well, based on basically how they do the exams nowadays. You know, they'll expect you to do whiteboard exams where they'll give you a scenario, and you've got to write all of the code and kind of explain efficient algorithms and things like that and what would make it better. Okay, let's have a look. Fashionably late introduction. Ax, you're loving the Italian words at the moment. I'm based in Italy, by the way, even though I'm British. But anyway, so top tech companies in India probably ask 80% of the, well, cool, that's good to know. Hafiz wants to say, no, Piero wants to say something. Piero, by all means, the floor is yours.
Can you all hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Just didn't want to disturb you guys. Just wanted to take a minute to not really introduce myself, just add something more to what Sunil said. First of all, I would like to thank him for the project and everybody that is joining Stackademic. I will be one of your teachers in the JavaScript and Node modules. Plus, I believe I will add something also for the personal branding and interview preparation. I've seen a lot of questions related to what will I be when I end with Stackademic, and what I would really like to stress about is the fact that even if we are teaching you something, a lot of power is in your hands. So I encourage you to fully take advantage of what we are teaching you, so you can, you know, get the basics, have a full path to follow. But also, like, I want to encourage you to search, and after you're done with the lesson, go deep on study something and ask questions to people. So even if we don't give you homeworks exactly, just like do that, and there's a lot of power in you, and you can really do something. Also, I believe that the fact that we are a community gives us a lot of opportunities for talking to people, for giving experiences and testimonials. Maybe some of you guys will end up in a great company and will be able to share the experience, or maybe we will start some projects together. You know, maybe I will go, hey, I started this project, I made it open source. Who wants to contribute? So I would really like to stress you on just pursue your passion, and you will be able to do a lot and to do great stuff. And at the end, you might call yourself front-end developer or back-end developer or full-stack developer. That will really just depend on you. Also, because I encourage you to also follow what you will enjoy the most. So maybe in 6 months from now, you will say like, hey, I love HTML, CSS. I'm also quite good at that. And I want to specialize more on front end or back end. But really, you can really do that. I'm convinced that if you don't drop the course and continue, you can do a lot. So I encourage you to do that and take full advantage. And with me, we'll see you later in the curriculum, guys. Thank you so much for the lesson, Sunil.
Oh, awesome! No, thank you, and thank you as well, Piero. I mean, it's. I think that was really important as well what you've mentioned as well, because that's probably something I didn't really say enough about. It's you are the ones that will be able to kind of craft your journey. So we're providing kind of an outline, or we're trying to teach you certain things that we think are important, but that doesn't mean that's exactly what you become. You need to entertain this passion and kind of let it guide you wherever you feel like. So for example, whilst we're teaching you all of this, you might realize that you have a real passion for back-end development, in which case then you should be entertaining that outside of classes. You should be researching more. I want you all to be telling us about new things that you've heard about and new things you've learned. And when I say us, I don't mean just us, the teachers or the student support or anything. I mean each other, all of us. And Piero mentioned a really good point about collaboration as well. The reason why we want you all to, or the reason why you will have projects to work on, and we want this kind of Discord chat and things like that, is so that when these projects happen, you will all pick people to work with, and it won't just be 2 of you. It might be that you're working in a team of 7 or 8 people, and you might pick up certain things to work on. And we want to kind of harvest or cultivate, I should say, this kind of mindset of what it would also be like if you were working in a company. Because when you're coding in a company, it's very rare that you're working on something just by yourself the whole time. You'll be working with other people, whether it's DevOps or a back-end coder or front-end coders, testers, whatever it may be. And we want you all to kind of assume those roles in the projects that you work on, and not just work in the same role for every project, but maybe in one role you'll focus on testing applications. Another role you might work on building an API for it, and so on. So yeah, anyway, there's so much stuff that we could cover. Let's have a look. So Samila says, what would I do? I'm confused. I think you're confused because you joined an hour late, so but that's okay. It's recorded, so don't worry. You'll be able to watch it back. Let's see. Dee would say, I would say make project like real time. We work in companies. Exactly. We're going to kind of make it feel like real life. Okay, so are there any more questions? Would anyone like to speak with me about anything? If you do, then unmute your microphone. AI would like to speak. By all means, go for it.
Hi, Sunil. First of all, I would like to thank you for this initiative. And I really liked the session.
Oh, amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
So that's all from my side.
Okay, no questions.
I would ask, but first I need to learn more about name servers and DNS. Once I will do my homework, then I will definitely come up with questions.
Okay, that's good. I like that. Okay, well, great. Thank you. Good to speak with you. But by the way, everybody else, you don't have to speak with me just to say thank you. I will assume that people are appreciative of what we're trying to do. Of course, like I'm always super happy to hear anybody say, that they like what we're doing and so on. But obviously there's a lot of you, so I don't want you all to kind of just say thank you one after the other. It's okay. But did anybody have any kind of questions about the course or anything? Yep, Jimo, by all means, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. I was going to ask, do you think we should have a time frame for classes, like if we're going to use 2 hours or 1 hour 30 minutes, or what do you think? Do we just come up and then watch till any time, or do we have a particular time frame for the classes? That's what I'm going to ask. Thank you.
Okay, so there will be schedules. So for example, today's class was from 4 p.m. until 6 p.m. GMT +1, and of course we kind of told everybody about 2 weeks in advance, so we won't just kind of create random lessons. We're not going to say half an hour before, oh, by the way, everybody, there's a lesson. That would not be, it wouldn't make sense. So we will always let you know, but typically, unless you hear otherwise, lessons are every Monday from 4 p.m. until 6 p.m. At least when they're being taught by me. Other teachers may have different times, but we're always going to communicate this to you with as much in advance as much as possible. I hope that answers the question. Did somebody else have a question? Anyone else?
Hi, it's Asai again. I do have a question. It's regarding GitHub. So it's been a while since I was been active on GitHub, and I recently found out that there's you can set your email address to private. Is that best practices nowadays, or how, like for commits, is it best practice to keep your email address private on GitHub?
Good question. I'm not too sure if I'm aware of this in terms of a best practice for keeping email addresses private. I think if I'm aware, I think it's with reference to two-factor authentication, where they say, we don't want you to just use your email address anymore. You should use more secure means. So actually, yeah, I think that's what it's with regard to, because I had to update some things on my computer. So, I mean, look, if a big company are telling you to change something such as that, then it will be for security purposes more often than not. So yeah, so, do kind of initiate any two-factor authentication. It can be frustrating, of course, because it means whenever we have to log in, we've got to use our phone as well. But typically when it comes to commits, you only need to do that once. You just kind of like to reinitiate the connection between your computer and GitHub, but then you won't need to keep doing it every single time. Let's see, Ahmed said we could try Zoom next lesson. So I've already covered that. We won't be using Zoom at the moment unless, we hear otherwise. But so far, the kind of we've been communicating with Zoom about seeing if we can potentially use their service to help this kind of free initiative that we're doing. But the people I've spoken with there have been very rude in response to us, so we won't at the moment. Google Meet, again, it's a better service, but we need to pay to use it. And what we're trying to do is not spend a single penny if possible. That includes ourselves. I mean, if I have to put money into it, that's fine. We can afford to do that. We could even crowdfund it. But I was thinking about this, and I don't necessarily think crowdfunding is even the best way forward, because what we're ultimately saying is we want the public to pay to use a corporation's software, whereas the corporation could just sponsor us, as it's a helpful initiative. So that's my opinion on this so far. Things may change, but we'll see. Where can I find the recording? We will upload this to YouTube later today, and you'll be able to watch it back. Okay, any other questions at all? I can't stop imagining Stackademic building something like Zoom. Do you know what? It's possible. Even things such as Jitsi, what we're using now, can be integrated into our dashboard. But I mean, think about that as how incredible of a project would that be if our students, all of you, us as well, we built some sort of video conferencing into the dashboard. I think that would be like a pretty cool thing to put on your portfolios as well. We'll see what happens. Will the Stackademic website get any updates? Yes, it will. Maybe not today. I mean, I'll put these videos up on YouTube, but in terms of updates to the dashboard and things, not today, but I will be doing them later this week. A Stacker conference, hey, it's possible. Any other questions, or shall we call it? Shall we call this the end for today? Cloud certifications, Hafiz, we won't personally be doing that, no. But again, we don't know what will happen 6 months from now, 9 months from now. We may end up bringing on more people who are more adept in that field. I personally wouldn't teach you cloud certifications because I'm not skilled enough to teach it to somebody in that. Hope that makes sense. So it's not that we want to say no, it's just we don't have the teachers to teach you that. I wouldn't teach you anything I don't know. If I had to learn how to do something to teach you, that wouldn't be good. I need to feel like a pro in what I'm doing. Otherwise, I can't teach you effectively. When will the recording be available? Later today. Can we expect timings to remain the same? Yes. When I'm teaching you, yes. So the next lesson, for example, will be on Monday the 22nd at 4 p.m. GMT +1. For anyone who's not in GMT +1, it's basically 80 minutes ago. Whatever the time was 80 minutes ago. Yep, some people saying thank you. No, thank you everyone for just being here. And and one thing I forgot to say as well, if anyone is still listening, if you could be amazing and talk about this on Twitter, how you've had the first lesson with the Stackademic, with the Stackademic squad. Feel free to mention me in there if you want for extra props. But yeah, please do talk about it on Twitter, because the way this grows is through you. You, the students, are the ones that make this grow. That's why we're getting so many applications. We were on 850 yesterday. We're up to about 1,000 now. This will never impact on the quality of teaching for you, because I don't want to end up with hundreds of students. But in terms of just making this grow and increasing the likelihood of getting sponsors to pay for, to sponsor this, it's the power of people, and you are the people, okay, that make this what it is. So yeah, I think we'll just call it now. So everyone who's talking, please continue the conversation in the Discord, so that everyone else can kind of participate. But yeah, look, thanks again for attending the first lesson. I hope it's been useful in some regard. I hope you're excited and feeling energized and pumped up about learning over the next few months. It won't be easy, but like I said, be patient with yourself, be patient with the students, be patient with each other, and you'll go very far. So thanks again, everybody. Bye.